Hello and welcome back to Dadvice. Thank you very much for stopping by. It's good to see you again. Today I'm going to be taking a little bit of a departure from what I would normally do. So normally we would have a topic here and I would kind of break down a couple of tips for you. Today, don't worry, you're still going to come away with some Dadvice at the end of it, but I just wanted to kind of deviate just based on something that I experienced recently. I thought I'd share this with everybody because I think there's quite a lot of value to come out of it. Hopefully it's something that everyone has kind of seen in some form or another. What I'm talking about is this. My wife is a member of various kind of parenting groups and that kind of thing from a sort of social side. So we did parenting classes before we became parents, and we met a bunch of people through that. There's a couple of kind of online advice things that she's signed up to that have kind of discussion forums within them as well. So various kind of WhatsApp groups of various people. So I see or hear about a lot of kind of chat going backwards and forwards between new mums. And recently on one of these outlets, there was a new mum with a baby who was about, I think 3 or 4 months old, so young. She was complaining about her husband. Now I should stress, I don't know these people. I've never met them and I've never spoken to them, but the gist of what was going on is this. She was complaining that she was kind of fed up because her husband basically kind of hadn't really been himself for the last kind of few weeks, I think. He had been going out drinking after work and not really communicating about when he was coming home. When he was coming home, it was clear that he'd had a few beers and it was always later than he had said he would be. She'd been there cooking dinner and that kind of thing, and he'd sort of missed it and it had gone cold, and so he's then kind of in the doghouse. And when it then got to the weekends, he was going out to the pub, watching sports, that kind of hanging out with his friends, that sort of thing, showing a real kind of reluctance to sort of spend any kind of time on his own for any great duration with the baby. And she was generally sort of complaining that he was not pulling his weight around the house and with looking after the baby. She felt like it was something that was all being put on her and that she was kind of having to carry the load and that he wasn't getting involved enough. The reaction from the other mums on this forum was very much along the lines of kind of like, well, you know, you need to talk to him and you need to take him to one side and explain that, you know, it's really difficult looking after a baby and he needs to sort of roll his sleeves up and help you out more. And hopefully he'll understand if you just sort of talk to him. Maybe he'll kind of pull his finger out and do a bit more work with the baby and around the house and so on. And what occurred to me with this was I started to wonder, well, what would these mums be saying if it were a new mother that was saying that she was feeling these things, as opposed to it being about a new father, as it was in this example? I find it hard to believe that if a new mother of a sort of 3 or 4 month old baby got onto one of these forums and said to the other mothers that she was not feeling herself and hadn't done for several weeks, that she was feeling a bit detached, that whenever she left the house, she was kind of drawing it out as long as she could, you know, taking the long route home and making shopping trips last longer than they had to so that she didn't have to go back home straight away. Not really feeling connected with things, not wanting to spend a lot of time alone with her baby. I can't help but feel that the response to that situation would be very, very different. It seems much more likely that she would get the kind of advice that it's like, maybe you should talk to someone about postnatal depression, or it sounds like there might be some sort of mental health and well-being issues going on here, and maybe you need to talk to a professional so that they can help you with that, rather than just being told, well, you need to roll up your sleeves and you just need to understand, you know, it's tough, but you got to get involved with it. The reason that I wanted to share this thought with you here is because I think it's such a common thing that we could all fall into. When you see a father that is sort of a bit detached or not particularly confident, or is spending more time at work than they really need to, you know, convincing people to go for drinks afterwards so that he doesn't have to go home straight away. It's easy to just sort of write it off as just like, he's a new dad, you know, he's probably stressed out with a bunch of stuff, and think nothing more of it. Fact is that the number of men who become depressed within the first year of becoming a dad is double that of the general population. 1 in 10 dads become depressed during their partner's pregnancy, and 1 in 10 dads also suffer from postnatal depression. That number goes even higher if their partner is also suffering from postnatal depression. So the point that I really wanted to get across, there's kind of two really. The first is that if you're a guy watching this, if you're a dad or a dad-to-be, and any of this kind of stuff sort of resonates with you, and you find yourself feeling a bit detached, feeling not quite yourself, not being confident around the baby, not wanting to get involved over a prolonged period of time. First thing is, everybody feels like that at some point or another. That's perfectly natural. But for it to go on over a prolonged period of time, those are some red flags there. Now, I should add, I'm not a health professional, I'm not a doctor, nothing like that. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing his opinions, but I do think that we all need to look after ourselves, and that if those are things that are cropping up for you on a regular basis, definitely go and speak to a professional that can help you out with it. It can make it so much easier for you to deal with things, which in turn is going to make everything easier for your family as well. So if it's something that you're experiencing, please do ask for help. The second thing was to say that I know a lot of mums follow what I do on here as well. So, if you are a new mum or a mum to be, this is something to look out for. I suppose what I'm saying is, please be kind. If you experience these things and if you're seeing these kind of signs in your partner, try to take that step back and just think for a second, like, what would I advise if this was a new mum going through this and experiencing these things? Because really, the advice should be the same, because in the same way that some women can suffer with postnatal depression, so can men as well. And you just don't know if there might be something a little bit more to it. And maybe they just need a little bit of kindness and a bit of encouragement. And as I said before, possibly some kind of professional help to just get them on their way and get them back into kind of where they need to be on a sort of emotional, mental level. So as I said at the start, a little bit of a departure from what we would normally do, but I think something that's really valuable for dads and for mums, just something to bear in mind. Obviously, if this is something that you think would be helpful for anyone else that you know, please do go ahead and share the video. Obviously, you can hit subscribe. I'm also over on Instagram at Dadvice Official. We talk about this kind of stuff over there all the time. So if that's a discussion you want to get involved in, I'd love to see that. So head on over there and follow me on there too. I'll be back with some more Dadvice very soon. But in the meantime, please do look after yourselves, take it easy, and I will see you again soon.